Friends, welcome back. Good Sunday afternoon, morning, based on your time zone. Hope you guys had a great, fun weekend with all this world chaos. Anyway, let's get into this. So, let's look at first, at the end of the day, what's going on, what directions all this chaos could go. And then we'll talk about how much longer things could possibly take, okay? We'll get into that. We're going to cover everything today. So, right now, Iran is basically stating, let's go through this kind of just one little, what do you call it, article at a time here. Hold on a second here. Let me bring up a, what do you call it, let me bring up my news real quick. And, all right, there we go. All right, got that dialed in. Okay. All right, so there's the news. So when you look at the first article up there, it says Trump, the new leadership in Iran, wants dialogue and has agreed to it. There's two ways you got to look at this now moving forward. Since we took out, I think there was one article this morning that says we've taken out about 48 of top officials within Iran. Okay. And now they're claiming that one article this morning suggested that Khomeini's son might be the new top leader within Iran. I would say it's a little early to gauge that. It hasn't been officially announced yet. It's more suggestive. But like this first article right here says, the new leadership in Iran wants dialogue and has agreed. So they're hinting, suggesting they have new leadership. And again, another article said it might be Khomeini's son. Now, if that's the case, we got to see what direction this is going to go. Is this going to go back to having more meetings now that Trump kicked their ass and handed their ass back to them? Are we going to go back to meetings and have dialogue finally and so forth? Because Trump does prefer diplomacy at the end of the day. You know, realistic agreements, not just blowing them up and kicking their ass and killing them and taking them out. He doesn't prefer that. That's just when they don't comply. So anyway, we've got to see if they're going to go back to having meetings and all that. This could take a few more weeks to reach an agreement, okay? We've got to see what direction this goes at the end of the day, because through their last night, Iran kept launching missiles at Israel. So we got to see if the aggression is going to continue, or if the aggression with launching all these random missiles continuously over and into Israel, if that will cease and desist, and they could have it peaceful, go to dialogue and transition back to having meetings. We got to see again, will it be random missiles to where the military action continues, or will it be dialogue and meetings and be more peaceful? We've got to see which direction this is going. Either way, even if, again, but more articles this morning have suggested the new leadership does want dialogue and meetings. If that's the route it's going to go, we've got to give them a chance to have some meetings, let that peaceful agreement get reached, okay? Again, we have to give this a little time. It's not just resolved necessarily in 1 week, okay? It could take 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Trump's not playing anymore, as you guys saw that. He just lit them up. He just completely kicked their ass and obliterated them. So we've got to see what direction this is going to go now, okay? If they transition to meetings with potential new leadership within Iran, have to give them a little time. This could take 2 to 3 weeks to resolve everything, so where they can move forward now, so where Iraq can move forward and continue the formation on their government if their government formation is being delayed by this, and their actions suggest it might be, okay? Just wanted you guys to think about that. We have to see how this plays and moves forward. Oil jumps to $80 a barrel. Here's a mechanism for selecting Iran's leadership after the assassination of their top leader. Here's another article. The new leadership in Iran wants dialogue and has agreed to it. There's a third article telling you that. Now, one thing to gauge the overall temperature of the war is this right here. Does Iraq even keep their airspace open, okay? If Iraq closes their airspace, again, there's still looming military conflict. So this is just a good gauge based on whether Iraq has actually closed or opened their airspace, because they're trapped in the middle of this chaos, okay? Something to use as a war gauge temperature on the tension there. Trump threatens unseen force as Iran vows fierce retaliation. But you see, this article here is suggesting there still might be military tension with potential new leadership. So we'll see. But they know Trump's not playing because he already took out anywhere from 40 to 48 of their top officials, okay, on that. There's another article, top leadership wants Iran. Hold on, I think I might. Okay. Yeah, Trump announces 48 Iranian leaders killed within the U.S. attack. Hold on here. I was trying to see if where the article suggested that they might have put Khomeini's son in as the new top leader. And there was a good article that came out in the last couple of days talking about how Iraq's going to be ramping up on cross-border payments. That does require the rate change. Very good information there. If you guys are not a member on my Substack, you're more than welcome to. I'll post a link below the video for you. We have very good, thorough information. We cover the news and information from all angles, so you get a good gauge on it versus some forums. Won't cover the war. Some forums just cover only exactly what's happening in Iraq, but right now there isn't any news. I'm going through everything with a fine-tooth comb. There isn't any Iraq news right now, but yet there's delays. So if you're not covering all the news, how do you know what the delays are? Something to think about there, okay? All right, now we're getting into yesterday's news. So anyway, guys, again, there really isn't any news coming out of Iraq. A good gauge to check the temperature of the war would be this right here. Again, whether Iraq has their airspace open or closed. And again, if Iraq, like today, Iraq's session of parliament was canceled. Why? It says right here, the parliamentary presidency offers condolences. And because of this, they've temporarily shut down, disabled Iraqi's parliament. So again, there's delays in this. You need to know why. That's important. This is your investment. It's important for you to know from all angles what's happening, okay? That's what we try to do here for you and help you out across the board. So anyway, so at the end of the day, it's important for us to monitor. One thing we probably want to monitor silver, gold, and prices, which we have on my forum. That's the top one here. I did that for everybody. You can kind of see it right here. As you see, gold and silver is going back up. Okay. Silver's already nice and high. I'm sorry, gold's already nice and high, and silver's jumping back into that. Silver's getting closer to hitting the $100 threshold when I think it maxed out around 121, 122. Okay. So all that's in there. We've got to see what happens. We've got to see how this moving forward. We'll cover it daily. We'll cover all aspects of it. The war, Iraq's airspace, all the general basic news, economic news coming out of Iraq, their sessions of parliament. Again, it's just important to see all that. That way you know how it's moving. You can see the temperature of it. And if they're not getting closer to forming their government, because that government formation is the linchpin to your rate change, again, if they're not getting closer to moving forward on the government formation, the war is most likely delaying it. And it's important for you to understand that. This is your investment, okay? So we'll continue to monitor this, see how it moves forward. We also want to see regarding the war. Do they transition to peaceful dialogue and meetings? Or does Iran put more top corrupt leadership in place like Khomeini's son, where they keep launching off random missiles towards Israel, and there's still escalated tension to where Trump has to kick their ass again and take the new top leadership out? We will see what happens on that, okay? Again, it's important to see all that though, and not just see economic news that some forums might show you, and that's it. Not show you the real truth in this and what's happening from all angles, okay? Because Trump was very clear. Trump's in charge at the end of the day. The U.S. Treasury is the only country right now that has OFAC sanctions on Iraq. So again, we're in charge of Iraq. We control them. Trump was very clear and said he will not tolerate or allow an Iranian influence within the country of Iraq. So again, it's important for me to study this from all angles, not just the angle of what another forum feels you should review it and study it from. This is your investment. You study it. Friends, you're the best. Thank you for joining. Take care and have an amazing day.